Arnold
Wow.
Schwarzenegger says Conan 3 is in the works.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is from Variety. I don't know if you can see that badger.
Yeah,
but
I got you.
This is the TLDR.
Fox Studios has kind of rediscovered Arnold. They've come to me and said, we want you to do Predator. We just got a script for you to do Commando 2. They just hired a fantastic writer/director who did Tom Cruise's last 4 movies, to write and direct King Conan. Conan. Yes. They don't write them like I'm 40 years old. You write it to be age appropriate. I'll still go in there and kick some ass, but it will be different. With King Conan, it's a great old story that Conan was 40 years as king, and now he gets forced out of the kingdom, and there's conflict, of course, but somehow he comes back, and there's all kinds of madness, violence, magic, and creatures and stuff like that. And now, of course, there's all kinds of special effects. The studio has plenty of money to make these movies really big, so I'm looking forward to all of those projects.
Well, someone had something to say about this, and that's Amanda Milius. I'm going to guess she's related to John Milius, who made the very first Conan movie. I love that film. The score from Basil Polydoros is amazing. And Amanda Milius says there's already the script. No one wants to see the non-Milius version where Junior falls in love with some tough, ethnically ambiguous mongrel who has her own sword made of sticks and grass and like saves the day for Conan Jr. Also, the only person to cast as Conan Jr. is Arnold's actual son, Joseph Baena. That's pretty cool. And then she goes on to add, look at him as Conan. I think he could play old. If Hugh Jackman can play old man Logan, why can't he play old Conan? And then she goes on to say, absolutely no one wants to see a King Conan written and directed by this leftist fool, Chris McQuarrie. So I'm just saying what's out there in the comments. What do you guys think?
Like, you had me at Christopher McQuarrie.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I might be the one guy on the outside. Can we just make new stuff? Can we stop trying to dive back into all of these old franchises and just drag up Arnold Schwarzenegger? I don't know, how old is he? And is he in his 70s now for Conan 3? Like, can we just make new things, please? I just want to see somebody's new imagination or something I haven't seen before in the movie theaters. I've seen Conan. All right, I love Conan. I don't need to see Conan again. I'm kind of tired of the remake, reboot, sequel, prequel, spinoffs. I'm tired of it, man. And there's nothing more that they can add to Conan that would make it better. The good stuff is back in the day. Go watch the old school Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. Go watch that. You'll be fine. Plenty of Conan there for you to enjoy. I'm just tired of watching this old stuff.
But the first Conan is so good. There's like sex scenes in it that are surprising. And Robert Meyer Burnett, are we going to get a hey, good to see you.
Hello. You brought me in on the sex scenes, right?
Yeah.
Rightly so.
But Conan 3, is this going to happen with Arnold?
I think it is. And I'll tell you why, because it's a 20th Century Studios production, and you have the quiet king of franchises, Steve Asbell, who's president of the studio. He brought us Predator, Planet of the Apes, Hellraiser, Alien. You know, he's had a commitment to keeping these franchises going. Now, this was not originally a 20th Century Fox franchise, but you know, the original Conan, I think, is one of the great fantasy films of all time. You know, that John Milius directed, the great Basil Polydoros score. And at the end of the film, you see old King Conan, and it kind of made a promise that has never been resolved.
Yeah.
And I think if you think of it like as the Unforgiven of the Conan franchise, I mean, there's never been a good Conan movie. There's the Jason Momoa version. There was Conan the Destroyer, the sequel to Conan that wasn't very good. Yeah. I think if they made a King Conan movie, because of the time involved, and you did it Unforgiven style, and if Chris McQuarrie directs, why not make Tom Cruise the villain? And I mean, if you had Thulsa Doom, you had James Earl Jones as Thulsa Doom in the first Conan, And if you gave, you had a young Cruz has never really played. I mean, he played Lestat and he did a much better job than people thought. I think people thought he was going to do. But I think if you, again, every franchise is one great script away from being on top again. And I never would have thought, say, Top Gun Maverick would have worked after 30 plus years. And I think that if you came up with a great story, why not? This Conan is Robert E. Howard. I mean, it's such a classic. There's been so many iterations of the character that why not do another one?
Yeah, the first movie is to me I own it. I love it.
Yes.
So that score, I mean, I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, me too. It was my birthday movie in '82.
Wow, it blew my mind. I mean, I didn't expect all the nudity in there. Sandal Bergman is incredible in the film. It's great. It's got strong characters of all types. And it was very diverse, actually. And Thulsa Doom is frightening.
Yeah,
James
I mean, it turns into the giant snake. I mean, it was, and Sandal Bergman was a Broadway. She was in All That Jazz. She was the lead dancer in the erotica sequence and All That Jazz. And, it was a different. I just think, look, I mean, anything could be good if it's well written and you have real creators behind it that want to do something unique. And I think Chris McQuarrie might be the kind of guy that would do right by it. Yeah. But again, I mean, the DA's comments are well taken. I mean, let's see more new stuff. But
I just think that's what's hurting Hollywood is that you're losing audiences because you're going back 40 years and you're making it for me and for all of us here, and we love it. We'll watch, it's a good movie, but I don't think it's really resonating with younger audiences. And so you're losing them to the East, you're losing it to anime, you're losing it to, Eastern entertainment because they keep giving these young audiences something that belongs directly to their generation, something that's for them. It's not for me, some 50-year-old dude. All right. It's something for, somebody that's, hey, I got my own brand new franchise that I get to watch and I get to enjoy. And it's something for us. It's not made from 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I think that's what's hurting this industry right now. And I think they need to wake up, and I get it. There's probably some money to be made there, but at the same time, you're losing generations. All right. You probably already lost Gen Z and you're on your way to losing the following generation, Gen Alpha, because you're not making new things. You just
but we're the only ones that go to the theaters, and it's what Robert said. That's a fucking promise that we had since the end of the first movie of him sitting on the chair.
No, trust me,
I want King Conan. I want.
I get it. I just think it's a bad. I think it's a bad move from a. But I already said my piece. Go ahead.
But to your point, Derek, they make remakes and sequels for the sake of making remakes and sequels because they need another movie, as opposed to having some sort of love and affection for the property and putting the right people in place to tell a good story, to hire the right actors. Sure. That's something that you see in King Conan that you don't see in everything else.
Correct. But like, go back to the 80s when we were coming up. We didn't get a whole lot of sequels and remakes and things like that. We got some, but most of the stuff we got was new. All right. Ghostbusters, new. Gremlins, new. Indiana Jones, Star Wars, all that stuff was new. And that's what made us all fall in love with being film fans. And so now it's like you're asking these audiences, these younger audiences, to go back 40 years to get their fix of movies. It's like, why aren't they getting the next Ghostbusters or something like that they can say, hey, this was made in my generation. I grew up with this.
Right. That's but it's all about motivation. You make a sequel because the first one did well versus you make a sequel because I have a story that continues the original.
Of course.
But I think that
most of the sequels you mentioned were not good. Beverly Hills.
But I mean, you go back to the 80s. We had Terminator. James Cameron created that. That's what I'm saying. We need to create things. We're starting to get stagnant as a culture overall. We need to create instead of just remaking everything or rebooting everything because these creatives in Hollywood, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe they just don't have the ability or the juice to create new things, but we need to create things at this point because we're starting to get stagnant and other cultures are starting to seep in and take over what we used to run. We used to run entertainment all over the globe. And now Look again. My kids could care less about a movie. All right, my kids are in their 20s. They could care less, and I'm looking at it from that standpoint. You know, I want to see Hollywood continue to do well, but at the same time, I think they just want to make money, and it's all corporate now. It feels so empty, you know. So when I see something like Conan, and it's like, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun, but is it really? You know,
I would say this.
Anybody? Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
But we have a fantasy establishment, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. There is fantasy storytelling that we didn't have at all back when Conan came out. So now you could create a King Conan movie for audiences that have now been are accustomed to things like Game of Thrones, and a King Conan movie would be brand new to audiences because no one's seen Conan the Barbarian. I mean, some people have. By the way, I want to point out that I'm being called a liberal shill in the chat, where in my own chat on my own show, I've become a white supremacist. So once again, I'm all things to all people.
Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, it's a different time, but your point's well taken. But Conan is a literary property, you know, and I think that it's a timeless property. They've reissued the old Marvel Conan comic books in really beautiful editions. And I think that Conan is the kind of character that's ripe for rediscovery. And even though you're going to get an old Conan, I think if you made a good Conan movie, a lot of people would think it was new, that they hadn't seen anything like that before.
I say just use.
If you were a kid and you're a 20-year-old kid, do you want to watch, you know, an old, very old Conan as the hero of the story? I mean, are you really going to connect to that character, or would you connect with the younger Conan? Like, I get it. Conan's like the history is there.
It's an enduring property. They're still making Conan comics that are decent and that we could all be reading. Why do your kids not watch movies? Did you not properly indoctrinate them? I'm just saying, like, we need to pass this shit over movies.
Man, I had my kids lined up going to every Marvel movie, all the Star Wars movies, and they loved it while it was good, but now they could care less because, again, they're tired of it. But you know what? If King Conan comes out, I'll say, hey, kids, let's go watch King Conan, and let's see if they get into it. I don't think so.
Look, if they do it, make it R-rated. Make it R-rated. Make it.
Oh, it would have to be
with boob galore.
Yeah, like a Frazetta painting.
Yeah,
make it
100%.
like that. That's, I think, what the first movie went for. There are speeches in John Milius' Conan that give me chills. And combined with that score, it didn't matter that Schwarzenegger was not the greatest actor at that time, but they played to his strengths.
And he learned. He was coached also by a couple of the bigger actors.